The following program has had shockingly little input from any women, minorities, or disabled people. Nobody to temper the crazy musings of an old white man. That is precisely why viewers' discretion is advised. Whoa. Try that again. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Viewers Discretion. I am your host, Joe Neerman, a.k.a. Good Lawgic. Hope your weekend has been going swimmingly well. Hope it's been phenomenal. Let's go, Joe. Let's go, Joe. And hello, Sarah. I didn't mean to click that one. It jumped on me. I think the mic is good. I think my volume is good. If I can get some confirmation of that, probably from YouTube people, because they're like 30 seconds ahead of like the Rumble folks. That'd be there we go. See, this is what I want. This is what I want to see. Believe it or not, I'm dealing with a new problem here in my on location site. That new problem is, for one reason or another, I keep blowing a fuse in this room, which I call a studio. Yeah, I keep blowing a fuse. That's not good. Because in case you're unfamiliar with the way this whole internet things works, you sort of, when you're on the interwebs and you're talking to folks, you kind of need electricity. It's part of it's kind of an essential element to this whole thing. I'm a boomer, but I know that much. So I'm hoping I make it all the way through here. I actually just, I came downstairs and was ready to start my show. I was like, oh, Lord, no. I can't have that flame out on me in the middle of a show. I'm really terrified that all of a sudden just everything will just go zoop. And if that happens, it's not an internet problem. That's a power problem right there. But that could also be, I guess, because the powers that be don't really want me to be speaking about the things that are being. One of the things that's kind of shocking, I guess, if you're unfamiliar with the way the world is operating today, this is just unbelievable. Apparently now, the situation with Google is that they decided, hey, we can start actually trying to silence, and shadow ban folks that you won't be able to see them. When you do a search, so you do stuff, you see, because I was looking up Gina Carano and Dionysus and all this other basic election results. That's not to give away the show here. But yeah, so one of the things you put a search in, this is something Elon Musk was tweeting out like 20 minutes ago, is this. Let's see, you want to find out about President Donald Trump. You see how they suggest over here? Presidential election, 2024, president 2025. Oh, okay. And they start trying to predict where you're going with this. President. Okay, so then they cut out anything. Okay, so now when I hit space, you're going to lose the presidential election. I'm pointing and you can't see my hand. But you're going to lose like this presidential thing. That's going to go away as soon as I hit a space here. Space. Oh, now I start looking. Different presidents. Oh, you might be interested in learning about these different presidents. Joe Biden, Richard Nixon, Jimmy Carter. You might want to learn about him. Harry S. Truman, Lyndon B. Johnson. These are other presidents you might be very curious to learn about now during this election season. Let's look up President Donald Reagan. That's what I'm looking for. President Donald Reagan. That's what it's predicting. You probably want to know about President Donald Reagan. Donald. Nope. Still no idea what you might want. Still no idea. What do you want? What do you want to know about? What are you looking for? Let's see how far it takes them. Nope. Still not really sure. Mark Zuckerberg calls Donald somebody or something, but still not sure really what I want here. Trump. We have no idea. We can't figure what do you want? What are you trying to find out about? We don't understand. Okay. Well, let's learn about his assassin. That's called shadow. That's what they call them in the industry, shadow banned. That's something everyone wants to know about. They don't want you to know about, so they make it harder for you to find. Oh, there's Donald Trump. Let's see if they want to tell me. I want to look about his assassination. So let's see. No idea what I might want to. No idea what I want. There's no way to know. There's no way to know what I'm looking for here. No. What could this could really be anything. This could be anything. This could be anything. This Donald Trump assassination. Never heard of such a thing. Why would anyone be looking for that? No. In contrast, if you go to DuckDuckGo, and you go over here, which is where you should be going. That's where you should be going. Look up president. Okay, now there's a lot of different ways you can go with president. Oh, look at that. They already have President Trump as a suggestion here. Oh, you know why? Because that's what the algorithm says, percentage of people looking for stuff. This is what it's supposed to be. That's the order as far as algorithmically where people tend to end up. President. Oh, even when I see it's number 3 on the list, because President Day, presidential debate. Okay, fine. As soon as you put in DO, oh, look at that, Donald Trump. Let's put in President Trump assassin. Okay, so you got former President Trump assassination attempts. Who attempted? See, that's good faith. That's good faith. Let's DuckDuckGo. That's the difference between that and Google. There you go. In case, the more you know. So I thought you might want to be aware as to how you're being pushed. You're being pushed by Google. That's how they push people. Now let's see if I search here for good logic. Let's see how we go. Good law. Hey, look at that. All right, I'll take it. There you go. See, that at least you know where I'm going. Yeah, it would help if I showed you. So I'll put this up here. Good. As soon as you put the G, and boom. There you go. There you go. They can find me much easier than they can find Donald Trump. Obviously, I'm kind of like a little bit of a bigger deal, I guess, in the eyes of Google. Anyhow, I wonder if they'll find me on DuckDuckGo. Because that could be like a YouTube thing, since I'm on YouTube. Let's see what we got here. Hey, nice. Even a good logic, Joe. See, this is what the people are demanding. Infinitely better. DuckDuckGo. Infinitely better. All right. Well, anyhow. Joe, do you not even need to be religious to be angry with a clear disrespect and insult to Christians? I'm agnostic and I'm boycotting. I'm going there right now. I'm going to cover the Olympics. This is my first topic of the evening. It's the Olympics. That's my first topic of the evening. So those of you who may not have been watching the beginning of the Olympic opening ceremonies or not read much about it, or heard only vague things but not seen much about it, maybe you're not on Twitter, maybe you don't know from such things. What we're referring to, let's do it this one. It's up here. No. This is what I want. This was actually shared with me by Tam a few minutes ago. Thank you, Tam. I appreciate that. Nice and condensed. There's a very strong push that the Olympics has put on to stop people from even revealing just how ridiculously over the top their opening ceremonies were. The opening ceremonies were so trans infused, so outrageous, so disrespectful to anybody who has any sort of Christian perspective on any sort of religious background, that you don't need to be Christian to be angry at the complete rudeness and disrespect. But it's far more than disrespect. It is far, far more than disrespect. Let's take a moment and just appreciate. I'm not going to be sharing with you any video for a couple of reasons. Number one, I don't want to give them any more of eyeballs than they merit. Number two is it's disturbing, like incredibly disturbing. And number three is they've worked so hard at slamming any content creators who share anything because of the deep panning that they're getting, that they basically, even if they don't, they're going to be striking things, even if you engage in fair use. You can watch 3 seconds and critique, and they're gonna clip your video. So rather than going through that entire hassle, instead, I'll just focus on some still photography that Tam helped share with me, courtesy of Moments from Paris 2024 Olympics Opening Ceremony. So people have talked a lot about how there was definitely an effort, and the Olympics have admitted that there was an effort to inspire thoughts of the famous painting of the Last Supper with the imagery that they were presenting there, where it looks like a long dinner table with roughly a dozen folks gathered around one person in the center. And if you're a little confused by the imagery of this hat that she's wearing, you're not familiar with Christian imagery. So it is a reference to this painting over here that, as far as with the spokes coming out of the head, that's definitely intended as a callback to that image, which you see over here. Surrounding Jesus' head is different spokes, I guess, supposed to be like representing the sun or something like that. So there's that imagery, and obviously the 12 disciples gathered around him at the Last Supper. And the imagery that you have in my thumbnail there is designed to look like a dozen folks. And what's so sickening about this, so incredibly gross, and I did not watch, I've seen very little of the opening ceremony, just little clips of like 50 seconds and 30 seconds. And I think collectively I've seen less than 5 minutes of the opening ceremony. But it is rank with transgender individuals just parading around and dancing as sexually as possible, interspliced with children. I did not see this part that I saw that Alex Jones was talking about, but reportedly like gyrating in sexual motions on children. That's not the end of the imagery, and that should be disturbing enough to anybody. But they have here the golden calf that they brought up here, that they seem to be worshiping and celebrating. And here's the pale horse. This must be one of the 4 horsemen, representative of death. And this is the image of Dionysus, who's the not to mention Marie Antoinette. Dionysus is, they talk about here, that he's the god of winemaking, orchards and fruit, vegetation, fertility, festivity, insanity, ritual madness, religious ecstasy. So basically they have Dionysus showing up at the Last Supper, which is designed to be making a mockery of the Last Supper in general. You're basically, treating it as an event that was visited by Dionysus. I guess since it's Paris, they figured let's bask in the whole Marie Antoinette and the beheading of, and her beheading. Then they had this image of the Statue of Liberty, which most of you may recall was a gift to America from France. And at the Paris Olympics here, they're showing it all beaten up and damaged, which is, I guess, supposed to be showing how, I guess, America has damaged liberty or something. I don't know what it's. I'm not exactly sure what the objective is. And some of the men in that homage or that mockery, it's not homage, it's really a mockery of the Last Supper, were literally having their genitalia hanging out, and they're like hanging out with little kids. Like little kids. This is a little girl here. It's hard to tell because the image is all blurry, because when they panned back, I was trying to get a very clear image that I could present for my thumbnail. And it was hard to find one which really could show the entire table, because as they panned back, it got blurrier and blurrier, seeing the actual faces of the individuals. But when they're up close, you can see that this is obviously a girl who looks like she's, somewhere between 8 and 12. And the sexualization of children is designed to outrage you. This entire thing is designed to outrage you. And it's more than that. It's really much, much more than that. I want you to understand something about just how important symbology is to humanity. It is the quintessential means of establishing culture, existence, and identity. Your identity, you don't realize it, is sculpted by symbology. What do I mean by that? So we as individuals, what we take in our formative years. I'm saying when you're really small, 2, 3, 5, 10, before you're an adolescent, is basically creating a foundation for you as to understanding your environment and the world around you. Now, at that age, obviously, we're incapable of understanding elaborate thought. In order to convey messaging, symbology becomes a very critical means of identifying something that is positive versus something that is negative. So symbology plays a very critical role in helping us understand our world and what is a good thing versus what is a bad thing, what is a healthy thing and what isn't, versus something that is potentially harmful. So that is why symbology plays a very important role. And this is something that people have understood for many thousands of years. If you go to Rome, you will find in Rome the Arch of Titus. And the Arch of Titus is this big, magnificent arch which has carved into it various images which are designed to display Titus's triumph in his conquests around the world, including in Jerusalem. Titus is the one who actually sacked Jerusalem and destroyed the temple, roughly the year 69, like 30 years after Jesus' crucifixion is when between 30 and 40 years after the crucifixion is when Titus sacked Jerusalem and came back home to Italy carrying some of the treasures from the temple, and that imagery is displayed on the Arch of Titus. So the Arch of Titus is actually a celebration of the destruction of Jewry in Israel. So when an Orthodox Jew goes and visits and sees that, my father was there several years back. He said it's very weird, like seeing it, because like you're almost like seeing the celebration of that which to this day we mourn the loss of the temple. This period, as it happens right now, this period that we are in right now, it started last Tuesday when I was fasting, and will end in 2.5 weeks on Tuesdays. We call the 3 weeks. It's a period of mourning during which we are saddened by the loss of the temple and our inability and the impact that's had on our ability to have the same type of relationship with God. And supposedly, and I think what the Arch of Titus is designed to display is not simply that Titus had that conquest, but reportedly, when he came back, there was this massive parade, massive parade in Rome, celebrating his accomplishment of destroying Jerusalem. So, why was that something that they wanted to memorialize? Why is that something that they wanted to make an entire arch about? Because similar to the way you see sports franchises will have a parade and a canyon of heroes when the Yankees win the World Series, or other teams will have their own parades when they have some sort of victory, far more significant, a million times more significant, is a conquest over a foreign enemy. And that's relayed through symbology. So much of what we understand about the world and sets the tone for the way the world is not just today, but establishing the way the world will be tomorrow and the day after that and the day after that is reflected in symbology. And there's a lot of different types of symbology, some healthy, some unhealthy. So you have various religious symbology, and you have various cultural symbologies. And all of these things are inculcated to us and to our youth from the time that we're very small, as to what we should value, what we should respect, what we should recognize as being important, and what is the overall flavor of the time. If you want to be recognized yourself, you have to fall in line with the tone of the day. If you're not falling in line with the tone of the day, you are an outsider. So symbology is designed to set up and establish in the mind of the public, this is what you are directed to respect if you want to have respect. And like I said, this literally goes back thousands of years. In ancient Greece, with their polytheism and the different temples that they had tons of symbology. In ancient Egypt, they had tons of symbology. So this goes back probably since before man was like actually even writing. That's how far back it goes in human culture. That's how well ingrained it is in who we are as humans. The objective, there is no possible objective of this other than designed to show mockery of Christianity. There is no other way to interpret this. And they admit that they were trying to recreate the Last Supper. The Olympic Games have admitted that was the objective. Why are you trying to put this grand display on this at the opening of this grand event? What is the objective behind that? And similar to how I was talking, I think last week, about the importance of flags and flags setting a tone. And by the way, this is not just something that goes back ancient times. You know, every culture has understood it on some level or another, and some have leaned into it harder more than others. For example, in Adolf was a huge proponent of the importance of symbology. A huge proponent. He understood that. That's part of understanding the mindset of a culture and a people, is that he understood the importance of symbology. Symbology was incredibly important in pre-war Germany, leading into World War II. And it's important in every culture and some cultures will lean in on it harder than others. Now clearly to Christians, the Last Supper is a sacred event. And the objective, the only possible objective here, the only possible point to this is to tell you that this is now replacing and that there's nothing wrong with this, with a man's junk literally in your face around children, and basking in this idiocy, this nonsense of men dressing up in different genders and and that this is what you must accept as being the norm. That is the point here. That is the only point here, that you must accept this. And if you don't accept it, you are rejecting the symbology of the time that's being presented to you as what is good, what is healthy, what is conquering. Then you are the outsider. That is the entire point to this. And I'll prove it to you. Because ask yourself this. Ask yourself this. Imagine that there was some sort of display. It wouldn't happen, let's say, in Europe, where everything there is as woke as imaginable. I mean, it's basically as woke as New York City multiplied by LA. But imagine if in Russia, their opening ceremonies had something that was mocking the LGBTQ community. And they had something that was a display that was designed to mock that. Imagine the vitriolic response that the left would have to such a display, because they understand the importance of symbology. They understand the points of that. And they also know no one would ever do that today. Yeah, 20 years ago, they would have done that, but no one would ever do that today. And the point is, we are the victors here, because we can get away with mocking Christianity, and Christianity cannot get away with mocking us. That is the point. The point is, we have won. That is what the alphabet community is trying to do with this. That is what the proponents and the people who consider themselves allies, that is what their point is. We won, you lost. We have the ability to mock your most precious and sacred vestiges, and you know damn well that you would never reverse that. And that's what this is a statement about. And that should get you angry. Whether you're a Christian, you're a Muslim, you're a Jew, that should get you angry, because that is these people here being so incredibly rude, so incredibly insensitive, and constantly talking about how they're so sensitive, so caring, so concerned about every human out there. And how dare you be a bully? How dare you be insensitive? And they are literally trying to bully tens of millions, hundreds of millions of people with this ridiculous display. That's what this is. And that's why you should be outraged. How dare you think that you have a place, that you have a position, that you're able to sit and mock Christianity with your ridiculous reinterpretations that are designed to make a mockery of it, make it look stupid, and basically try and make a mockery of every person who's canonized as being associated with the Last Supper. And like I said, I'm Jewish, okay? The entire Last Supper in my culture is meaningless. And I look at this and I'm like, F you sons of... This is disgusting and gross and revolting. It is revolting how you can just sit there, and they're attempting to display their triumph. That's how I see this. I see this as a directed effort to say, we won, you lost. Go cry about it, because there's nothing you can do about it. That's what this is. That's what you see here. And then on top of that, when you consider how it's designed to help normalize to you that, oh yeah, it's totally normal for a dude wearing a dress to have his genitalia flopping around children. That's a totally normal thing, obviously, on international TV. And grinding up against them and doing all sorts of ridiculous, sick things that their parents should, if they had actual real parents, I mean, actually healthy parents, would walk up to that dude and punch him in the face and say, "Stay the hell away from my kids." And instead, likely that poor girl has parents who'll be like, "Yay, that was so beautiful." It's sickening. It's really sickening. So that's my thought. That's my thought on the opening ceremony. And I guess the final thought I would have for you is, the only way that these capitalist pigs will learn their lesson is if nobody watches. Nobody cares about it. So go do your stupid little thing. You want to try and make this is the center of the world? No, you're no longer the center of the world. You're now trivial. You just marginalized yourself. That's what you need to say to the Olympics. You just friggin' marginalized yourself because I don't give a damn about you anymore. And frankly, I think it's ironic in an age when trans people are shoving their way into women's sports, and that's become such a hot topic over the last 2 to 3 years. And that, it's such a massive topic. Like, are they getting in the games and all this other stuff and all these different debates and stuff like that? To hell with the Olympic Games. To hell with the Olympics. To hell with everything that association has anything to do with. They're trying to scrub it now because they're so embarrassed by the reaction that the public had to this. I don't know why they're embarrassed. I don't know what the hell they thought was going to happen. Like, what did you think was going to happen? And people were like, wow, that's stunning and brave. Disgusting. It's utterly disgusting. So, yeah. Thank you, Howie. I appreciate the super sticker. That's very kind of you. Medic Mark says, we're at a point as Christians where we need to be vocal about the mockery. As for everyone saying turn the other cheek, we're allowed to be defenders of Christ and his church. Enough is enough. Totally. I'm on board with you. Totally on board with you. Like I said, you don't need to be Christian to just say this is effed up. This is completely, totally effed up. My sport. It's completely messed up. Offensive to all people of faith. It was blasphemy for all religions and nothing to do with the Olympics. Disgusting on every level. Yep. So we see it. We talk about it. What's the solution? The solution is to ban it. To basically make it as meaningless in your life. To turn off the TV, not watch any of the Olympics. Not talk about like how many gold we win, silver, whatever. Not even follow the Olympics. So you know what? You don't want me. I'm not your target audience. I'm no longer your audience. I'm clearly not your target audience, so I am no longer your audience. Same way you did with Bud Light. Give him Bud Light treatment. I have no interest in the Olympics. I'll tell you this much. I would have had a passing interest, like, oh, okay, what's going to happen with this? But no, I don't care. I don't care. To hell with all of them. Seriously. To hell with every one of them. Hello, God bless you. Gifting, 5. Count them, 5 good Lawgic memberships. Who'd you hit up? All right, welcome to the following. You just got following status, driver 417618. So welcome to the following, driver, as well as One Punch Man Tolkien fan Eric Sean, Alan Sparks, and definitely someone else who I'm not seeing. Why am I not seeing that? Oh, Al B. I missed Al B. All of you should issue your gratitude to Ella. So that was the 5. It was Driver, Al B, One Punch Man, Eric Sean, and Alan Sparks. Gifted memberships courtesy of Ella, bringing them into the following. Now, a lot of you might say, what does that mean? Because some of your names here, respectfully, I haven't seen all of you, going back many months. So I'll tell you that some of you might be saying, what does that mean? I'm in the following. What does that mean? Well, okay, tonight's show is called Viewer's Discretion, but during the week, my show is called the following program. So people who sign up to the channel become followers. Now, there's a few things I need to make clear about this because some people have occasionally gotten confused by the unfortunate nomenclature that they're called followers. That is if they're in some sort of like cult or something like no. The following is not at all a cult type of cult. And I'm not the leader of that. Everyone knows that. Everyone knows Joe is not the leader of the following. Just about community, unity, and leadership training. That's what it's about. That's what we're all about here. That's what we're all about. that's what the following is. So welcome to the following. We have cookies. Can you use platforms to call out repeatedly sponsors? What do we mean by repeatedly sponsors? That's what you mean by that, seize the day. Just trying to increase market share, i.e. Bud Light. Yeah, apparently. Hell with Olympics, but Joe Rogan spoke with Jordan Peterson and explained half of concept of Talmud Torah parades. Partis. Can someone tell him that it's an unbroken tradition from then until now? Talmud Torah Partis? I don't know. I didn't see it. So I'm not sure what you're referring to. I'm not sure what you mean by Partis in this particular context. Unbroken tradition from then until I don't know what he means by that. Welcome to the following. Bear Lamb and Ella herself jumping on into the fold. Welcome aboard. Shower thought. Why don't you have member emotes? I never figured out how to do that. Is that like when you say shower thought, does that mean you were in the shower and you're like, why doesn't the following have any member emotes? I don't understand. I should include that. I should definitely include that. I think that's right. I think that's a good call. I'm going to work on that. Thank you, John. New Corvette ZR1 1064 horsepower. America, F yeah. Dr. Sean Exelright. Hey, right, Excel is good. Joe, there's one place that you've not looked, and only there will you find the master. You know, my mom always, whenever I was looking for something, she'll say you'll find it in the last place you look. And I never understood. I was like, why? Why can't I find it like in two places? Like she said that to me. I was like 20 before I realized what the hell that even meant. She never explained. It's like, why? Why would it be in the last place I look? Why would that be? I looked at whenever she would say that, I was like, that sounds so hopeless. like so hopeless. I guess she was technically right. She was technically right. Peek over in the ghetto, make sure I'm not missing anything happening over there. I'm good with you. Oh wait, no, I missed this. Barrett Boy says, didn't watch it. Ceremony called back to French Revolution. That's what they did then. Try to eliminate Christianity all the way to setting up a 10-day week. The 10-day week. I have to tell you something. The 7-day week is something that to me it sort of almost like shows like the god, like the godliness. It displays divinity. Because everybody in every culture across the globe, disparate cultures across the globe, everybody, 7-day week. And it's such a random number. It could have been a 5-day week. Could have been, it could have been anything. Everybody. And to prove the point, by the way, when it came to months, they did have different length months. In ancient Rome, they used to be 10 months and they had different length months and stuff like that. That was all disparate. Because there's really an infinite number of ways you can calculate time if you're so inclined to come up with a new system and you're in some place. And, why would you come up with 7 days? Why would they all come up with 7? All of them. 7 days, 7 days, 7 days, 7 days. 10 days is like stupid. It's like 10 days is like I'm trying to reject God. Ask yourself how it is that the most random number in the world, 7, ended up becoming like the determining factor as far as what a week is. Not only that, but all these cultures they all got this first day of the week. It's not like in some cultures, today is Wednesday. No, they all started and continued with us all being on the exact same day. That's pretty crazy. There might be different names, but they all basically, first day of the week, second of the week, third day of the week, seventh day of the week. I don't know. Maybe some people fell out of cooking. So one good thing to take from this, one sign about the how popularism is still thriving despite what they want to tell you, is that this is what happened on Sunday. Sunday or Saturday? I'm not sure which. One of those days. One of those days of the week was this. It's a spontaneous gathering of Christians. Basically, they wrote, what did this post say? After the shocking opening of the Olympic Games, Simon Ateba, if you're not following him, he's great. He's a great source of news. After the shocking opening of the opening games, which many say show the world quickly going to hell, a worship service to Jesus just broke out in Paris to salvage what is left. Watch. Now they're singing in French, and I don't speak French. My father speaks French. My mother spoke French. Whenever they wanted to talk about things and not have their offspring understand what they were talking about, they would talk to each other in French. So my father probably would understand this, but I don't. But those of you who speak French, maybe you would. Did I not give you sound? That's not gonna be good. I apologize for that. That's a boomer thing. I apologize. Let me do that again. That's on me. Oh my God. I was even doing this stupid phone. Here we go. Anyway, so that was the clip that he shared. Sounds like a nice song. I'm not familiar, but maybe some of you have. Maybe that's a song that the Christians are more familiar with. The tune, I don't know. I don't know. Screw the bogey. Remember for 3 months. Screw the opening ceremony, but I love the Olympic Games and always will. Greatest showing of meritocracy on the global stage we have. OC is overrated. Well, you can say that, but maybe Bud Light is tasty too. Just saying. Just saying. Lest we forget Charlie Hebdo. Hypocrisy. So drash. Remiz shots. Jerry turning about 20 minutes in. I'm going to take a note of that. JRE. JRE to episode 2. I'll try to check that out. I'm not doing it now, but I appreciate you sharing with me. And if I have any thoughts on it, I'll try to bring it to y'all tomorrow. But I'm not going to start with that now. I got too much to cover tonight. Too much to do. There's too much to do. Too much on my agenda. I'm My calendar is full. All right. Okay. One thing I did have here that I wanted to talk about. This is just, I don't know what's happening. So it starts with this. I'm giving you a warning, okay? Before I play this next, this is not one of the listed segments. This is not one of the listed segments. Before I play this, my next topic is the JD Vance versus the Cat Ladies. Okay, that's where I'm going. I'm going to the JD Vance versus the Cat Ladies. And before we get that, we need to give a moment to the Cat Ladies. We need to give a moment to them. And I'm warning you that this woman here, Ariel Foder, she's gonna make you like. There's something about her voice that just makes my the hair on my arms stand up. But okay, let's just do it. Just you have to hear it.
Ariel Foder, affectionately known as Mrs. Frazzle, to her combined audience of over 1.5 million followers, is here to help.
1.5 million followers this woman has. I can't even look at even her face. Even her face.
Gentle parent us through this election.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. I am so honored to speak today. I am like shaking to just be among such incredible company.
Liar.
We are here because
so let me just pull this one up. She's gonna explain to you what this election explain to her fellow Zoom call people what this election cycle is all about.
If you find yourself talking as white women, we need to use our privilege to make positive changes. If you find yourself talking over or speaking for BIPOC individuals, or God forbid, correcting them, just take a beat. And instead, we can put our listening ears on.
It's like this is the same tone I got like when I was watching Romper Room as a child. I'm expecting her to close this out with I see Sally and Roger and Jimmy.
So do learn from and amplify the voices of those who have been historically marginalized, and use the privilege you have in order to push for systemic change.
This is systemic.
As white people, we have a lot to learn and unlearn. So do
and unlearn. Don't forget the unlearn. You have to unlearn all the bad things that you as a white person necessarily swallowed up in your upbringing.
Check your blind spots.
You
are responsible for your algorithm belief.
It's like how to talk down like you are scum. This is I'm really trying to tell you that you're actually, I know you're trying to be a good person. You're actually scum. I know. So just try to dial back just how terrible you are as a human being, because this way we can grow into being a more evolved person.
Believe it or not. Intentionally seek out and share content from BIPOC creators, activists, thought leaders. They should be the leaders of conversations about race and justice and equity.
Why would that be? Is there only one race? I don't understand what that means. Why are white people not part of that conversation?
So just whatever you do, don't stay silent on the issues of injustice.
So that means this, by the way, plays into the whole my truth, their truth, his truth, her truth. So any person who has has more melanin than you clearly understands racism, no matter how stupid they are, no matter how twisted their brain is, no matter how poisoned they are, they obviously have a deeper understanding about fairness. Clearly, no matter how privileged they are, no matter how wealthy they are and pretty they are and how popular they were in school, they could be someone, they could be someone like I don't know, Barack Obama's kid, but that person understands racial injustice far better than you could possibly understand. Why? Why would that be? Why would that be?
Changes can start with just one person who's brave enough to speak up. But do know when to walk away.
Always with a huge smiling thing. This is just so creepy. This woman, I'm positive. I only first came across her today. I'm positive I'm gonna have nightmares. Or I'm stuck in an elevator with her, and there's gonna be this whole conversation I'm gonna have with her, and she's just gonna be talking, and I'm gonna be your face needs to stop moving. Your face needs to stop. Just stop your face moving. Stop it. Your face is still moving. Your face is still, there's still sound coming out of that empty vessel that you call a brain. It's still fall asleep and start snoring. It'll be less grating.
Away from an argument for your own sake. There are some strangers you'll meet online who are persuadable, but some are not. I know when you see some headlines or
I qualify myself amongst the persuadable ones. I'm very persuadable. I am. I'm very open-minded. I'm very, very open-minded. A lot of people might think I'm closed. No, I'm very, very open-minded to anyone who's actually talking with intelligence. I'm very open-minded. Not to this, because you're coming from a place of stupidity. You're coming from a place of racism, of anti-white racism, because you're such a good person.
Or someone makes a wild claim, it can be really shocking. But do give yourself permission to pause, take a breath.
How's that permission? That's not permission. That's bite your tongue. That's not permission. It's she's literally saying the opposite, trying to couch it as if, oh, okay, do afford yourself the privilege of shutting your mouth and make sure you treat yourself to a punch in the face and sit back and listen.
And do a Google search and ask questions and be critical of this.
Because Google is going to give you all the right information.
Sources. I was a kindergarten teacher, and sometimes
You don't say. You were a kindergarten teacher? Really? I never would have guessed. See, I would have thought you were a CEO of some massive company. I would have thought that you were a scientist. No. Apparently you were a kindergarten teacher. That's just color me shocked.
Times we would read stories, and I know I have some of my former students here and their families. Hi.
Yeah. Some of my former students who I'm assuming never grew up.
We would learn about a historical event, and I would ask my students, who is missing from this story? This is not a concept or question that I invented, but it's something that I was taught as a way to decenter the Eurocentric and white voices that are often at the forefront of our history books and our media. And so in a time when misinformation is running wild and AI is on the rise, seek evidence and be a critical consumer of media and information before.
What about being critical of all the nonsense and crap that you're spewing right now?
Or just sharing it out. Don't feed the trolls. You guys know I have trouble with this one sometimes, but we are all grown-up children.
See, that's the problem right there. You think we're all grown-up children. So this is because you're basically talking to your audience as if everyone's a child, as if everyone's in kindergarten.
Seek good attention and bad attention. Trolls are the same. Sometimes walking away is the answer, but that
if they're giving you questions that you don't know how to answer, walking away is probably best.
being said, don't expect to get it right every time, because we're going to get it wrong sometimes. I certainly do. I have, and I will. And that is part of the process of learning and growing. So be ready for feedback and listen when you're corrected, and model doing your best to repair harm that's done, because a lot.
You're dropping harm. You're actually dropping harm. I know you think you're a really great person. She walked out of this thing like, wow, I am such a good person. I am such a good person. And they need good people like me to help lead the way. This is what's going through her head.
A lot of the times being an ally means being willing to be uncomfortable. And no one is more uncomfy than someone talking to their bigoted family members. So yes, we're going to talk about the elephant in the room. No pun intended. Get it?
Oh, Republicans. That was bigot. The sicko. The bigots in the room. Let's talk about the jackass in the room instead.
Over half of white people, or almost half of white people, voted for Donald Trump both times he ran for president.
And
so
means...
you know someone that you need to talk to.
What? What? Oh my God.
Do it. Maybe don't hit them with a got it, or catch a bubble like I do in my skits. We can save that for when we are among friends, but trust me, they do not like it, and it is not going to help you persuade them. But research tells us that personal conversations between friends or family members can be more persuasive than any online debate with a troll or even an advertisement run by a candidate.
Research tells us that if a liberal and a Democrat actually sit down and have a conversation, the liberal is more likely to be proven wrong than the conservative. That's just what research tells us.
So remember, I said you are all influencers. However, if Kamala can use brat, I can say, let us touch grass, friends. Get off the internet. Because by talking to your families and friends and
I can't. This is a personal best for me. I'm at 3 minutes and 51 seconds, not even counting the extra 10, 20 seconds of her from before that I caught. Okay. This is a personal best for me trying to listen to Ariel fodder. But I'm done with fodder. I'm done. I can't. There's your classic cat lady right there. There's your classic cat lady. The TikTok affectation over emoting can't hide how dead inside she looks. Oh, I'm sure she thinks she's a very accomplished individual. She's got 1.5 million followers. To be stuck in the kindergarten of Eden, never. Yeah, there's no. Kamala's voice like this, yeah. They all do this. They all put on that affectation where they're trying to show you that I'm understanding so much more than you understand. And that's why I'm talking to you in this tone, which sounds to anyone who has half a brain like they're being patronized. Oh, my mom used to say that, so open-minded, but their brains fell out. Nightmare will be your wife giving birth to this lady and dealing with questions of what to do. No. You see, no. No one is born like this. No one is born like that. Nobody is born like that. No. That's something you develop. My children will never be that. I am positive they'll never be that. They will never be that. That is poor breeding. Mistakenly thought by the parents as I'm sure the parents think they did exceptional breeding, but that is very poor breeding. They've only had 2 open-minded presidents in U.S. history, Lincoln and Kennedy. But Trump just refused to be one. Man. I see what you're doing there. This woman is just making me angry. She's making me angry. Now I got her face off. I know you don't see it, but I still have it on my screen. All right, let's get to JD Vance. Now, this is a 6-minute speech that JD Vance gave. There's a lot of talk about JD Vance versus the cat ladies. That they're all trying to say that he's misogynist and that he hates women and whatever, and he's all Project 2025, and that he's, the threat to democracy. So before I get into that, before I show this clip, and I'll tell you this much: the 6-minute clip I'm going to show you, I'm not crazy about what he says. I think what he says there, he actually got wrong. He's close to getting it right, and then just doesn't land properly in a way that's disappointing. So, in order so people can remember why it is that JD Vance was chosen, Here's JD Vance talking about Kamala Harris at a rally in Minnesota the other day. This is not the main one. This is just a minute and a half.
I saw the other day Kamala Harris question my loyalty to this country. That's the word she used, loyalty. And it's an interesting word, simplify, loyalty, because there is no greater sign of disloyalty to this country than what Kamala Harris has done at our southern border. And I'd like to ask the Vice President, what has she done to question my loyalty to this country? I served in the United States Marine Corps. I went to Iraq for this country. I built a business for this country. And my running mate took a bullet for this country. So my question to Kamala Harris is, what the hell have you done to question our loyalty to the United States of America?
Get her.
And the answer, my friends, is nothing. So let's send a message to the media. Let's send a message to Kamala Harris. Let's send a message to every hardworking patriot from Minnesota across the country. We are ready to have President Donald J. Trump back, and we're going to work our tails off to make sure it happens. God bless you all. Thank you. And thank you for having me, Minnesota, a great state.
You see him and you can appreciate that his delivery, his confidence, everything about the way he presents himself is something that probably terrifies the left. To have him as the face of the potential face of being Trump's heir apparent, which, let's face it, as vice president, it's basically his role to lose. Assuming, it's his role to lose as the heir apparent to Trump. This is the face which people assume right now, all things starting equal, this guy right here, most likely candidate for the GOP in 28. Right? Okay. And he can, and a lot of his positions and things that he says are great. Who knows how things will pan out? We don't know. But I'll tell you this. The way he phrases this, he's right, and yet I don't like, and yet he's wrong and a little bit foolish, I think. Now, I'm not sure when he said this. I'm not sure when he gave this speech. The speech, I believe, was made a while ago. I don't believe this was recent. But this is the sort of thing that pissed people off. They're trying to dig up on him now. Much easier to find this than Donald Trump assassination.
I want to take aim at the left, specifically the childless left, because I think the rejection of the American family is perhaps the most pernicious and most evil thing that the left has done in this country. Now, let me ask you a question. I'm going to get in trouble for this. This isn't being recorded, is it? Broadcast live? That's okay. That's all right.
Yeah, so this was a while ago. This is before he was named VP. And yes, not only did I see it, I actually opened the show by showing it. The suppression of that. And go back to the first 5 minutes of the show, you'll see it. Adrian says, whoa, she's not my people. I am a 47-year-old child cat lady. I identify these gross people differently. Vance is getting a letter from me on that. Well, we'll talk about what Vance said. We'll talk about it. Potter 1, Nearman 0. What, did she beat me? That I couldn't make it all the way through? I don't look at that as a win.
I'm gonna get in trouble for this, but I'm gonna ask the question anyway. Separate Hillary Clinton, Bernie Sanders, and Joe Biden, the three elder Democrat politicians who have run for president before, except for Biden, may not run for president again. Consider all of the next gen of the Democrat Party. If you go on any of these prediction markets, they'll tell you who's most likely to win the Democrat nomination for president in 2024, 2028. Think about all those people. The names are obvious. They're well-known people. Kamala Harris, Mayor Pete Buttigieg, who's now the Secretary of Transportation, Cory Booker, AOC. Think all these people. They're different. They come from different walks of life, different parts of the country. What is the one thing that unites every single one of them? Not a single one of them has any children. And why is that? Why have we let the Democrat Party become controlled by people who don't have children? And why is this just a normal?
I mean, the framing of that question is weird. None of us have allowed the Democrat Party to become controlled by any of the idiots that they chose. But let's let them continue.
Fact of American life, that the leaders of our country should be people who don't have a personal and direct stake in it via their own offspring, via their own children and grandchildren. Now, let me do the necessary throat clearing because I do think it's important. Look, a lot of people are unable to have kids for very complicated and important reasons. I know, good friends of mine who have struggled to find the right girl, find the right guy. There are people, of course, for biological reasons, medical reasons, that can't have children. The target of these remarks is not them. It's important to point that out. There have always been people like that who, even though they would like to have kids, unable to have them. Let's set them to the side. It is one thing to recognize that there are people.
And that's an important thing that he does there in prefacing his remark. They're saying, I'm not talking about people. I'm talking about people who are on principle not having children. Not people who, for one reason or another, due to circumstance or because of, whether circumstance is social circumstance or biological circumstance are not having children. These are people who are making a decision to not have children, right? I mean, these are people like this woman here. I mean, these are the people he's talking about, right? I mean, look at this. I mean, just look at that. That's just horrific. Those are the people he's talking about.
Don't have children. It's one thing to recognize there are people who don't have children through no fault or choice of their own. But it's something else to build a political movement invested theoretically in the future of this country when not a single one of them actually has any physical commitment to the future of this country. Now, I think, unfortunately, and I'm going to take some pot shots at people who have been taking pot shots at me the last couple of weeks. It's honestly true of a lot of folks in our press and in our media. Very often, I will read a story about me, or someone else will pass a story on about me. I can't read all of them because there are a lot of negative stories about J.D. Vance in the last few weeks. People seem to not like me in the liberal and the mainstream press. But very often, I'll think a little bit about the people who wrote those stories. And what you find consistently is that many of the most unhappy and most miserable and most angry people in our media are childless adults. Let's just be honest about it. Because look, the elite model, the American dream to the elites is get as much credentials as you can, get as much money as you can, get the most prestigious job, and that's where you're going to find your self-worth. But I got to be honest with you, most of our mainstream reporters are not impressive enough to find a lot of self-meaning in their jobs. They're just not good enough at it. Thank you for clapping at that. But what society has built its entire civilization, the flow of information, the leaders of its country, political and governmental, and also corporate, around completely childless adults. It's never happened. This is a new thing in American life, but I think probably a new thing in world history. It's not good. It's not healthy. You see the obsessive.
That I agree with. This part I agree with. What he's saying here, I agree with.
Almost humiliating, aggressive posture of our media. And you wonder, how could these people possibly be so miserable and unhappy? Well, the answer is because they don't have any kids. Kids.
That's where I disagree with him. That's where I disagree with him. I'll let him finish his thought.
These are the ultimate way that we find healthy people, at least I think, self-meaning in life. Whether your own children, your grandchildren, your nieces and nephews, I'm going to go back to my two beautiful boys, my wife who loves me, and recognize that the most important thing in my life is going to be them. It will always be them. That recognition makes us healthier people. It makes us more stable people. And we should worry that in America, family formation, our birth rates, a ton of indicators of family health have collapsed. Now, my proposal...
See, where I disagree with him, and I strongly disagree with him on this, and it's kind of important, is the chicken and egg thing here. He's saying they're not happy because they don't have children. And I would say they're not happy, and that's why they don't have children. It's not because they don't have children to cure their unhappiness, which is the way he seems to be framing this, that children are a tonic for unhappiness and they help give meaning to your life. And they definitely do. They definitely do. Because as I've talked about many times, the driving force that help us find genuine happiness is the establishment of our legacy. I don't know if I've walked through this in the last, couple of months. So for those of you who might not have heard me express this, legacy in English has three different meanings to it. It can mean your reputation, it can mean your children, it can mean money that you leave behind. Those are the three primary ways that people use the term legacy. All three of them are imprint that we are capable of making while we are alive, which will outlast us, outlast our own existence. And that helps give meaning to our lives, our legacy, our children that we are expecting and hoping that they're going to, form generations after us who will be influenced by us. The money that we leave behind that can be influential, or the reputation we leave behind. All of these things are, the way we're remembered. All of these things give meaning to our lives. So we are all finding our happiness through establishing a legacy. Because otherwise, if you spend your entire time just working on something that is going to die before you do, it feels like a hollow victory. A very hollow victory. So, and it's not like there's no victory in it. There's a victory in being kind to someone, even though they might forget about it 10 minutes later. There's a victory even in that. It's much harder for us to place a value on that. It's much easier for us to place a value and find genuine happiness in things that have duration beyond our own days. So, that being the case, what I would respectfully submit is that this woman over here, she's miserable, obviously. I mean, nobody who's happy and well-adjusted would say they wish their parent had aborted them. So she's obviously, you can look into her eyes, she looks like she's dead inside. And I certainly wish her well, but I don't wish any ill on her. But what I'm saying is, someone like this is not going to be having children. They're not, because they have no interest in investing further into this world because they feel a certain disparity in the world. Who the hell would want to have children and bring them into a world that makes you feel filled with despair? You wouldn't want that. And the point that he should be making is that their despair is not that their despair, they struggle to find their way out of despair because they don't have a kid to make them feel better. No, the lack of a child is reflective of a deep despondency that they have within themselves, of a confusion about what is a healthy value, a confusion about what is actually a healthy long-term perspective. Because they're not really thinking about the long-term implications of anything. And they're really living here for today. And whatever happens tomorrow is tomorrow. Someone who's living here for today cannot be a leader, because a leader is trying to get you from here to somewhere else where society is going to be better and society will continue in a healthier way. How can you have a leader who only cares about how good today's bread and circuses are? That's not actual leadership. That's someone trying to control the masses. That's someone who's trying to keep their grip on control. And that type of thinking has gone back to the days of bread and circuses in Rome. But someone who's actually leading a society in a healthy direction, who's willing to course correct towards building towards a healthy society, even if it means taking your medicine in the short term and having some difficult periods in order to have healthier periods down the road. That type of thinking, that type of attitude, that type of perspective can only come from someone who sees brightness in the future rather than despair. So if you're seeing despair in the future, you're not a good leader. You cannot be a good leader. And you're very unlikely to have children. Because who the hell would bring children into that? Why would I want to bring children? Why would I want to have little rats running around? I mean, little rug rats running around who I have to like take care of, and they're dependent on me, and they're draining my time and my money and my efforts, my resources. You sort of look at it as if like, why would I want to have kids? And that's what despondency and depression tends to do. It tends to make you feel a certain futility about the world and the future. And if you're living with that type of depression, that type of despair, you cannot be a good leader. It's impossible. Sort of an amazing thing about the way that God set that up. I'm going to get religious on you for a second here, okay? It's an amazing thing that that's the way God set things up. Because what that actually ends up meaning is that those who are likely to intentionally have children rather than those who have a whoops baby, but those who are likely to have intentionally have children are more likely psychologically and emotionally grounded and in a better place to be a parent to that child. It's an amazing thing that we never really think about as far as how God like sort of makes someone who's like a happy person more productive. That if you feel like a certain malaise, you're much less likely to be productive. Because that attitude that you're bringing into it is going to be imbued into whatever project you're engaging in. So all of these things that, and certainly with respect to child rearing, certainly, I mean, most importantly with respect to child rearing, because children are naturally intuitive without you saying a word as to like what your tone and your demeanor and your emotional state is. So it's a remarkable thing the way God organized that. But let me let him finish up here. But I think it's a terrible mistake that he's making. He's saying the reason they're sad is because they don't have children to cheer them up. That implies that having children is like a bowl of cherries every day, and it's not. It's not. There are days when most days it's great. There are days it's hard, very hard. Especially when you have, especially when they're very small and they can't really comprehend things and stuff like that. It can be frustrating. It can be very challenging. So no, it's not a bowl of cherries every day, and that's what he's basically implying that's why they're sad, because they don't have a kid to make them feel good. No, they don't have good kids because they don't feel good.
Proposal today, my argument to you is that whether you agree with my views of political economy, we should treat this as a crisis in this country. The fact that we're not having enough babies, the fact that we're not having enough children is a crisis in this country.
And I agree with everything he's saying here. I just think that there's no way he can be giving messaging like this now in this scenario here, because it's so easily twisted into him hating professional women. That's how the left is trying to twist it. Oh, you hate someone who's like, who's a professional woman. You're saying that they're useless. That's how it's easily twisted into hearing that. And it's even twisted into saying, like, if you don't have a child, that he looks down on you. So how is that? This is terrible. Terrible for running a campaign on. Yeah, sure. If you're a senator and you have 6 years to sort of, you can say this a year into your term and start giving that message out. Okay, that's fine. Now when you're running for office, you got to sort of like think it through here.
Crisis because it makes our media more miserable. It's a crisis because it doesn't give our leaders enough of an investment in the future of their country. And it's a crisis because we know that babies are good. Now, I could sit here and tell you all kinds of reasons why they're good. There's a ton of economic evidence that suggests that children make economies more innovative, more productive, more geared towards the future. There's even psychological evidence that suggests that, for example, fathers of young daughters, I don't have a daughter yet, we're working on it. Fathers of young daughters are more compassionate, more understanding, even that they use different words in their vocabulary when they have daughters. We are not just worried about the lack of babies because it means our media is miserable and because it means our leaders are miserable. We're worried about babies because babies are good. And a country that has children is a healthy country that's worth living in. We care.
That's true. That's true. I mean, that's all true, but it's secondary to the fact that your decision to not have children is reflective of an unhealthy mindset. That's what I would argue. Someone who is deciding, I don't ever want to have children. Not someone who's scripted because they don't have a social relationship or they're biological. Like I said, you might have someone might have a social, circumstances which keep having children beyond their life's path. Okay, they're not making a decision. I don't want to have children. That's a different decision. That's a completely different decision. Someone might have a biological issue, but they can't have children. Okay, that too. It's not, but someone who's actually coming to a conclusion saying, I never want to have children. That is against what I would argue is the norm for how we are naturally driven. I believe that the same internal drive we have for self-preservation extends on a perhaps to a lesser degree towards self-propagation. Because otherwise, why would we have a maternal instinct or a paternal instinct? Why would anyone have some sort of position where they're like, oh, I'm going to sacrifice my life? Arguably, it can even be stronger than your will for self-preservation, because I'll tell you right now, I look at Lady Lawgic, okay? This woman is the most self-sacrificing individual in the world, most specifically, for her own children and grandchildren. Like, she literally is completely happy to sacrifice her time, her efforts, her money, her exhaustion, her physical body. That makes her happier to wear her body down, taking care of her offspring, than to be pampered. So much so that if I ever try pampering her, even on her birthday, I'll tell you a quick story with her. I took her on her birthday to a very fancy restaurant one year. I want to say about like 5 years ago, maybe less even. I took her to this restaurant, and we came in there, and the place was such a beautiful ambiance, such a beautiful just mood type of thing, and the reputation for the food in this place was just chef's kiss. She sat down, and they gave us the menu, and she looked physically ill when she saw what the entrees were costing. And she's like, I can't eat $100 steak. I was like, it's your birthday. Let's, don't worry about it, whatever. She's like, no, I can't do it. I can't do it. I can't do it. I can't eat $100 steak. And she's like, she looked like she was going to vomit. Like she, and I'll tell you right now, she would be thrilled if she was sitting next to her kid to give it to any one of her children, to give it to her child. That'd make her happy. That's not normal. That's not, and I know that's very atypical. It's not a common thing. I'm not like that. I was like, come on, it's your birthday. Let's go. I'm not like that. I'm not nearly the same level of self-sacrificing as she is. That's what makes her happy, though. And so ask yourself, okay, I understand that she's unusual in that regard. It's one of the things that made me fall for her first, is that I sort of identified this quality, this character trait in her. But why should be any individuals walking the earth who find their joy that way rather than in taking care of yourself? Because we all have that survival instinct. We all looking out for us. We're naturally start from a position of I am me and I'm looking out for myself. Why would a maternal instinct overtake that and swallow it up chew up your self-preservation, chew up your survival instinct, and just say, no, I'm going to become a machine who is selfless for my children and grandchildren. I would argue even sometimes to an unhealthy degree. I've said to her, I think you need to pamper yourself more. But why would such a thing be unless it's capable of growing to that degree where it's like, hey, I'm finding my purpose and my happiness, that's actually what makes her happier, to be sacrificing than to not be sacrificing. So what that says to me is if an individual is capable of having that, and I see the evidence in my own wife, so in that case, it shows just how strong that drive can be within any of us. And why would that possibly be? Because it's so against the natural survival instinct of like, let me make myself stronger, let me take care of myself and whatever. And why would that be unless that's actually like leading towards a deeper level of happiness? It's just a thought I have. Anyway, let me finish up with what he was saying.
About children, because we're not sociopaths and we don't want to live in a society of sociopaths.
Oh, there you go. All right. So, but I do think he's mistaken. I think he has the chicken and egg mixed up there, because I think that it's not that they're unhappy because they never had children. I think they never had children because they are unhappy. Sunwoo King says, "Parn timestamp JRE 2180, 23 minutes." Okay, fine. Thank you. They're terrified of Trump, so naturally Trump would choose someone more terrifying if they try to take him out again. Huge balls, F the cat ladies. Agreed. Snuggle struggle. Oh, and I'm going to give this one's. This is for you, Snuggle struggle. I'll take this down for a second. Ella, I noticed that no one heard it before, so this is for Ella for the 5 Good Lawgic memberships she gifted before. But let's come back to you. Snuggle, put your listening ears on. I watched this practice drone, a student video recorded BIPOC fantasizing about how their ancestors shot lightning from fingers. When the person recording interjected, they're kicked out. It is childish. That's pretty funny. Olympics display was a hate crime. EU laws. Was it? Really? Kids make you happy? Sorry, get the bottom anyone? No. Yeah. Sargidal Banim is a Hebrew phrase for the pain of raising children. It's like a phrase. So like if you see someone like suffering, like with like, dealing with like their kids, we call it Sar, means the pain. Gidel Banim is a reference to raising children, the pain of raising children. Joe, the Democrats have convinced their voters not to have kids because we have to save the climate. Now they're depopulating Earth with abortion and reaffirming surgeries. You would think that, and that's why they want our kids. That's why they're trying to infiltrate the minds of our kids. Because how do you get the next generation when you can't have you can't be spreading your propaganda to your own children if you're not having children. So that's why when you don't have your own kids, you want to poison other kids. Cat ladies were never going to vote for Trump anyway. Some, yeah. I think some of them were actually, after he got up with that whole fight thing, some of them were starting to cave. Some of them were like, man, that was pretty impressive. This is before he became nominated for Senator in 2021 because he doesn't mention his daughter who was born December 2021. He only mentions his 2 sons. Good catch, Kimmy. There you go. Very good. Very, very good catch. Thank you. He actually says he doesn't have any daughters when he gave this speech. So great catch, Kimmy. Target the bottom, aim a bottom, smecha ha'aluka. All right. Let's dial back on the psalm references. Anyway, so yeah, I hope he does. I know that they're trying to twist it into like, that he's like all about this and he's like, this danger. And the new thing that they've started trying to push along with JD Vance is that he's just weird. That he's a 2025 guy and that he's weird. They're desperately trying. That's the new narrative that they're desperately testing out. So whenever you see them saying JD Vance or anyone else is weird, just remember this.
Phenomenon. You know it. Indeed, I do. Phenomenon. Phenomenon. You know it. Indeed, I do. Phenomenon.
What the hell am I looking at?
Indeed, I do. Phenomenon.
Just really weird. Really weird. And I'm shifting over towards Kamala now because she is really weird. She's a very weird and evil and twisted individual. But we need to start focusing on that because too many people are trying to make it seem as if she's completely normal. We don't have to have children to have an investment in the future. All right, look, I mentioned there are other forms of legacy as well. I mentioned that as well. I look at this show that I'm doing as an investment in the future. Because I'm like, you know what? Look, I'm covering like days events, but I'm also trying to like lace in like concepts that I was like, you know what? If my great grandkids go back and they look at like some of my shows, like they're curious about like, you know, about my work, they can always just pull it up on Rumble, pull it up on Odyssey. Believe it or not, I'm on Odyssey too. Or YouTube. I'm assuming that by the time my great grandkids come around, YouTube's going to basically delete my channel. I'm pretty convinced about that. So that's why I sort of like leave YouTube as like last, but like I'm sort of like building like my own little library of Joe thoughts for like my future offspring. So, and I guess they won't. It's not for their exclusive perusal. It's really for anyone. John, love your angle, brother. The Midas Touch channel makes me laugh. I'm more middle ground, but you're not as one-sided as them. Bottom line, go out and effing vote. Amen. I know. I assumed. I've seen you on other channels. I'm trying to remember where I saw you during the Baldwin trial. I think I saw you were commenting there frequently, and. Yeah, I'm totally fine with people who mean middle ground. I get that. There's nothing wrong with that. All I urge people to do, and it really doesn't matter what side of the aisle you're on, I'm frequently telling people, you need to be, in today's world, where everyone who's delivering to you news and information seems to have some sort of angle. The only way to actually find genuine truth is to constantly engage in critical analysis. Take whatever information is being thrown at you, try to get it from multiple sources, and then try to engage in critical analysis of your own to try to figure out what truth is. Because sadly, there seems to be a lot of people who are very against delivering a message that is not going to be, at the very least, heavily slanted. And that's why I say you should feel free. I want my audience to feel free to question me. And look, sometimes I get things wrong. I you know, and if I spot it, I'll be like, okay, I never really realized that. Or I last week I was basically covering how wrong I got back and forth on the whole flag burning thing. Oh my God, that was humiliating. But that people should question me. I don't. If you're not questioning me, sometimes then you're like, you know, then perhaps you need to engage in more critical analysis. Or at least start in a different position, and maybe I can talk you into it. But what I'm saying is that I think it's a healthy thing. I don't feel scared by someone questioning me. Quite the contrary. I just feel like it's a better opportunity for me to hone my perspective on things, and perhaps come to a deeper level of truth. So, real Trinix folks aren't like this. I feel bad for them. I'll tell you right now. See, I don't. If somebody somebody gets their kicks from living a life like this individual,
You know it. Indeed.
like this person right here, okay? Someone gets if that's their deal, okay? I'm talking about the one who's now on the left, obviously, not the one on the right. But so someone gets that's their deal. I don't look at them with anger. I don't look at them with resentment. I don't look at them as anything other than like, I feel like they, in my personal opinion, I believe they have deep issues. If this is what they do that makes them like happy, provided that they're not trying to influence others to mirror them, I would say, all right, it's your deal. You're an adult. Go do what you're going to do. What do I care? What do I care? Plenty of folks who are not wearing, plenty of dudes who are not wearing dresses are far more messed up than that guy is. And they look far more normal. So is it something that, so I don't mock trans people. Part of me feels a sense of sadness for them because I'm sure that there must be deep misery. No, to me, what's funny about this is not this dude. No, it's this individual right here. Because you're filming this. You're sharing this out there. Because you're so desperate for people to look at you as if you're like this evolved great person. Like this is to me is sad. This is what's sad is not this dude. No, what's sad is this person, Kamala Harris. You're sitting here trying to fit in and showing how cool you are, or whatever. It's just like it's something like it's like, what are you doing with your life that you're just trying to show? It's like it's a constant virtue signal all the time. Everything about what you're doing is just like this plasticness to it. I mean, she looks like a wax figure in general. I think she's a weird person, but yeah, I personally, I think Kamala is at least as troubled, as this individual. I'm childless and single. The thing about societal standards is you can and should uphold them, even if you fall short personally. Everyone, family should have 5 kids. And like I said, that's part of like a circumstantial thing. See, to me, what you just said here, there's nothing remotely unhealthy in that. That's a natural, that a lot of people find themselves in that circumstance, that they don't have a someone who they feel would be a good, that they've been able to form a relationship with, who could be a parent, a co-parent with them, and and bring offspring into the world. There are tens of millions of people like that. I understand that. That's a sad reality of the world. That is very different. That has no relation. It's not even part of the conversation about someone who actually makes a decision, I don't want to ever have children. That is a completely different situation, which reflects it's only an unhealthy mindset when you come to mindset of I never want to have children. That's the unhealthy mindset, not the incapacity for having them. John Duncan gifting 5. Good Lawgic memberships. Let me see who he brought in here. Who'd you bring in here? Bum, 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 bum. So, brought into the following, courtesy of John Duncan, is Design, Dirk Diggler, Renee Miette, and Acism, and Rachel Hope, Brintessen Engelhart. Welcome to the following. The following is not at all a cult, type of cult. You might say, what does that mean, Joe, when you say it's not? What is the okay, so the following is about personal growth, because ultimately personal growth is what leads us towards happiness. And personal growth comes through community, through unity, through leadership training. You can have a nice, healthy acronym someone might be able to put together there. The point is that it's really about personal growth. That's what it's about. It's about personal growth. But it's not at all. It's called The Following, and people think, oh, I have a show called The Following Program, like I'm trying to program you to be a follower. Oh, you're going to follow me. No. I'm not the leader of The Following, okay? That's a very important thing. What vested interest do I have? I am not the leader of The Following. And The Following is not at all a cult, type of cult. There's no self-harm, no harming others, no spaceships, no tracksuits, no stabbing yourself with the jabby jabs, no harming others, no self-harm, no hanging goat heads on your wall, no throwing virgins into volcanoes. It's not at all a cult type of cult. So, but welcome to the following. We have cookies, mild farm work, and group conveyors on Tuesdays. Kamala's troubled or in trouble? I think both. If you're Kamala Harris, you have to ask yourself why you're as unpopular as you are. And I'll give you a few reasons. I can help her walk through it. Here's one reason. Here's Kamala Harris. This is Kamala Harris. Why don't people like me? So the question that she's asked, it's hard to hear, I know. The question she's asked is, are you going to meet with GOP leaders? This is about the border. She even has her border czar, her co-czar with her behind her, and Alejandro Mayorkas. So here we go. Tell us, you're going to be meeting with GOP leaders? What's their plan? What is the plan for the border? What's your plan, border czar? What's your plan?
I am meeting with a lot of folks, and the work that we have begun is the work that is going to be ongoing. There is no question. And I said
the work so she's meeting with a lot of folks. Okay, to do what? The work that we're doing is ongoing.
This from the very beginning, that our approach to this issue has to be with a commitment to a long-term investment.
So we need to have a long-term investment to...
And it has to be a commitment to consistency. The United States has to be consistent.
Consistent.
There were times when we were more engaged and we saw good results. Less engaged, and we can see where the work and the partnerships then deteriorate. So I am committed to ensuring that we engage in an active way on the root causes, on addressing the cause and effect, and also being partners in the Western Hemisphere, understanding that we have a responsibility, and if we ignore that responsibility, it will visit itself on us in a very domestic way. So thank you.
About border security.
What do you say to that? What do you what do you say to her? What do you say to her? Oh my God. Oh my God. Well, anyhow, a little bit more of a focus on Kamala here. Daily Mail is reporting that apparently Kamala Harris is not exactly the nicest woman behind closed doors. Surprise, surprise. In case, if you thought that she was, this sweet cherub woman, like the one who's like always so happy and being really nice to everyone, well, apparently not necessarily the case. Reported by DailyMail.com, Kamala Harris, the soul-destroying bully. Former staff exposed shock details of degrading tirades, decades-long toxic behavior that left people in tears and saw them quit at unprecedented levels. Harris was all smiles when she arrived at Joe Biden's former Delaware campaign headquarters on Monday. She was there to lift the spirits who, after 15 months of toiling to re-elect the president, suddenly found themselves working for her. It's my great honor to have Joe's endorsement in this race, she boasted to cheers from a crowd who were now on her payroll. But as the assembled readily applauded, some must have harbored private concerns. For, behind the recent public self-branding of Harris as a kindly, jovial mamala, she has earned a nasty reputation as an alleged soul-destroying workplace bully. Only 4 of the initial 71 staffers hired by Harris during her first year in office still remain in a job. The rest either quit or were fired, according to analysis by nonpartisan watchdog Open the Books. He thinks that's funny. That translates to a 92% staff turnover rate and, say critics, is a likely sign that the issues on Team Harris have more to do with her than anyone else. During research for my recent Harris biography, Amateur Hour, published in January, the horror stories I heard from many of her former employees and read about in numerous ways shocked me. As far back as the 2010s, when Harris served as California's Attorney General, she was allegedly known for running a toxic workplace. Barbara O'Connor, professor at California State in Sacramento, claimed that students who worked for Harris as interns frequently came back to her crying and saying that they felt they weren't valued. After Harris was elected in 2017 to represent California in the U.S. Senate, working conditions reportedly did not improve. Analysis showed her office had the 9th highest staff turnover rate out of the 114 senators who served between 2017 and 2020. Congressional sources told the Mail that she would berate subordinates in expletive-laden tirades. Even those working for Republican lawmakers allegedly got caught in the crossfire. In one instance, reported in my book, sources described how Harris lashed out at a room full of Senate staffers during the highly contentious 2018 Supreme Court confirmation hearings of Brett Kavanaugh. On September 28th of that year, as Kavanaugh's nomination moved forward despite liberal outrage over allegations he'd sexually assaulted Christine Blasey Ford 3 decades earlier, Harris and her colleagues staged a walkout from the hearings. Okay. Later, Harris was said to explode in anger outside the main Judiciary Committee room. Witnesses recalled Harris cursing and ordering around staffers who did not even work for her. Anyone whose staff, get the F out of here, she allegedly yelled. Harris's campaign did not respond to requests for comments on these allegations. Years later, amid the dramatic and rapid collapse of Harris's 2020 presidential bid, this alleged troubling behavior began to be leaked to the public. In a sensational resignation letter shared with the New York Times in November 2019, Harris's then State Operations Director, Kelly Mellenbacher, slammed her boss, saying, "I've never seen an organization treat its staff so poorly." Wow. Wow. They encouraged people to move from Washington to Baltimore, only to lay them off with no notice, no plan for the campaign. There's no plan to win. She's got no plan. She has no thought process here. There's no thought. She can't even figure out her own campaign. She's supposed to be figuring out how to run the country. It's not acceptable to me that we encourage people to move from D.C. to Baltimore, only lay them off with no notice. Morale has never been lower, she said, saying there was no real plan for how Harris might win, but that she hoped the departure might result in some serious consideration of our internal communications. As her failed campaign descended into nasty blame shifting and finger pointing, Biden threw her political lifeline, tapping her to be his running mate and effectively saving her skin. Just a few months into Biden administration, troubling stories about her management style surfaced once again. In June 2021, Politico spoke to her 22 individuals familiar with Harris's VP office, who all claimed that her team was experiencing low morale, porous lines of communication, and diminished trust among aides and senior officials. It's not a place where people feel supported, but a place where people feel treated like crap. I don't think they use the word crap. That's the word I choose. The Biden administration often claimed Harris was responsible. It all starts at the top. The sentiment was shared by Gil Duran, an ex-aide to Harris who worked in her attorney general's office and quit after 5 months. What's the common denominator through all this, he said? It's her. Harris's then press secretary, Simone Sanders, tried to defend her boss, accusing complaining staffers of being soft. "We're not making rainbows and bunnies all day," Sanders told Politico. "What I hear is that people have hard jobs, and I'm like, welcome to the club." Just 5 months later, Sanders, a political veteran who had once worked for infamously cantankerous Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders, left Harris's office as well. "I'm so grateful to the VP for her vote of confidence in the very beginning," Sanders said. "Please give me a letter recommendation." But then the dam broke. Multiple staffers who worked for Harris before she was vice president told the Washington Post in December 2021 how she'd reportedly refused to prepare for public appearances and blame her aides when she then underperformed. There you go. There you go. It's clear with Harris, you're not working with somebody who's willing to do the prep and the work, one ex-aide said. With Kamala, you have to put up with a constant amount of soul-destroying criticism and also her own lack of confidence. So you're constantly sort of propping up a bully, and it's not really clear why. It's not really clear why, because she's ill-equipped for the responsibilities that she's been tasked with, and yet constantly seeking more responsibilities. And they go through an exchange where he says, "You haven't been to the border. I haven't been to Europe." Harris clapped back with an awkward laugh. "I don't understand the point that you're making." The flippant response resulted in one of the most damaging public appearances of her entire White House tenure. She didn't do another one-on-one interview for nearly a year. Then she started over-preparing for some events. In April 2022, having been invited to a salon-style dinner at the home of David Bradley, a heavyweight DC media mogul, she said to be so anxious about that, she held a mock dinner with staffers who acted out the roles of dinner guests. I didn't read this before. Oh my God, that's hilarious. All right, look, we need to have a practice dinner so I can understand how to make normal social conversation. So, okay, you're going to play Hillary Clinton. You're going to play Bill. You're going to play Michelle Obama. You're going to play David Axelrod. You'll play Joe Scarborough. Who wants to be Mika? Oh my God. That's hilarious. She has mock dinners like it's a debate because she's like, how do I make myself look normal? How can I make myself look normal? God. Where they find this robot? Speaking exclusively to the male, political strategists who previously worked for Harris say the root of her problem is that she overly relies on a trusted, though underqualified, inner circle that includes her sister, Maya Harris, and brother-in-law, Tony West, former Obama Justice Department official. Neither are professional political strategists. Team Harris appears to now be leaking to the media that attempts are underway to bring former Obama advisor David Plouffe and ex-Obama Chief of Staff Rahm Emanuel on board, but in truth, I'm told that the efforts appear to be more wishful thinking to reassure donors rather than a reality. On Monday, Harris announced that Biden campaign chief General Mally Dillon would remain on duty, as would senior Biden advisor Julie Chavez Rodriguez, who previously worked for Harris in her Senate office in her 2020 presidential race. So anyway, there you go. That's one report. But let's hear from the horse's mouth.
For protecting.
This is Charlie Krager, cybersecurity policy analyst and foreign affairs executive officer of the president. It should say Charlie Krager, former cybersecurity policy analyst and foreign affairs, because as you can probably tell from the fact that this individual seems to be sitting in a restaurant and they are on camera, they had the misfortune of sitting across from James O'Keefe. And since we are watching this video, you know that poor Charlie Krager is about to say something that he's going to regret saying in private dinner company.
I work for the White House.
So you're pretty high up in the government.
Yeah, I'm fairly high.
Now you can see how James O'Keefe, who's Superman in this story, is completely impossible to see through his costume here, because What he did was he put on that impenetrable costume that nobody can ever see through, which is a pair of glasses. Because as soon as you put on a pair of glasses, obviously you become a completely different human being. So this individual obviously has no idea that this is internationally known reporter James O'Keefe that he's sitting at dinner with, and thinks it's just some dude who I guess is picking him up.
I'm good at keeping secrets.
I'm good at keeping secrets. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go.
I manage 2 federal agencies, the State Department and USAID.
So when you say it's like security, like you're protecting
the networks of the federal agencies
You're
that you give all your information to.
the
I need a
mission
coder.
is to protect
Right. Yes.
information.
And we are like the president's voice when we go into meetings in terms of discussing and promoting the president's priorities.
Is he going to be the nominee?
Yes. And she will be the vice president nominee.
Yeah, I don't.
There was a debate about removing her from the ticket, but sadly they didn't. She can't keep black staff. They quit on her in mass.
But with him, I
know.
he's got.
She can't keep black staff.
Her from the ticket, but sadly they didn't. She can't keep black
What the
staff.
fuck?
They quit on her in mass.
But with him, I
know.
he's got
I know.
dementia.
Yeah, well, he's definitely slowing down.
But they know that he has those issues.
I think so.
They're not
And
willing
the
to say
polling
it.
shows it. And,
They're not willing to say it
correct.
publicly.
And same thing
But
with
why
Kamala
not?
Harris. She's not popular, but you can't remove the first black lady to be vice president from the goddamn presidential ticket. Like,
I
what
see.
kind of message are you going to send to, like, the African American voter? How would you spin that? People would be like, what the fuck? Like she's a woman and she's multiracial. I think that they're really concerned about this.
But they won't say it. Well, I guess if they say it publicly,
Correct.
that
They can't say
Biden
it
is
No.
they can't say it
No,
publicly.
they got to
Do they
toe
say
the
it
line.
privately? But they won't say it publicly.
Correct.
That
They can't say
Biden
it
is they can't say it
No,
publicly.
they got to
Do they
toe
say
the
it
line.
privately? I mean,
I'm just telling you what I've heard. Like,
you're
yep.
You're just telling me the truth.
Does it make sense? No, but that's what I've heard.
Um,
I've had a meeting with Michelle Obama at one point when I was an intern, and someone asked her, "Will you ever run for office?" And she said no, emphatically. No.
Really?
I've seen all the shit my husband has had to go through, and that does not interest me. People would be like, "Well, I don't think we should have to get the vaccine." And I'm like, fuck you. It's like, you're not going to get the vaccine, and then you're going to go expose my family
Exactly.
in the hospital
Exactly.
to your vaccinated COVID. Like, fuck you.
So you work in cybersecurity for the White House, and
So, but it doesn't stop someone from infecting your kids, even if they get the vaccine. Oh. Quite. Not that I don't know. What am I listening? What am I saying? Oh my God, I forgot I'm talking. Oh my God, what the hell is wrong with me? Oh my God. I am not giving you medical advice. I don't know anything about medicine. Nothing I'm saying is about I don't know anything. I know nothing about medicine. YouTube wants me to tell you that I know nothing about medicine. I've never even tried medicine. I think that I'm probably allergic to every medicine. Medicine and me don't mix. I don't understand what medicine is. I'm not the person that you should be coming to, looking to for medicine. I'm the last person. Talk to your doctor. Talk to your doctor about whether Viagra or any other medicines are right for you. Don't trust me. I don't know. I know I'm like an idiot. I'm like, oh my God. Wait, it comes in pills and liquid? I don't even understand how that could possibly be. If it's a pill, what do they crush it down and then turn it into like jelly and stuff like that? Are they throwing sugar in there? Does that affect the I don't understand it because I am an idiot when it comes to medicine. YouTube wants me to tell you that I don't understand anything about medicine, and I am.
my question is, what are you doing on a meeting with James O'Keefe? What type of cybersecurity operation are you guys running over there? We're running a good cybersecurity operation. Obviously not.
Oh, he pulled up his glasses right there.
That they say it publicly
Correct.
that Biden
Can't say it
is
Oh my
What
God.
is this clown show you guys running over at the White House?
Videos like these will be brought to you in part by support with funding from the Citizen Journalism Foundation.
I didn't even watch the whole video. I watched the first 30 seconds. I didn't even know that he whips his glasses off and he's like, ta-da! I'm back. It's like ripping the mask off. In this case, the mask was like a stupid pair of glasses. Dude, I'm James O'Keefe. What are you doing? You're cybersecurity. You don't know who I am? Really? 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 I'm friggin' James O'Keefe. How do you not know? I'm almost offended that this stupid glasses worked. How could you not know it's me? Oh my God, that's hilarious.
Now you can make a tax-deductible donation to support Citizen Journalism Foundation's independent
Yeah.
journalism, policy
Yeah.
analyst, and foreign affairs desk officer in the executive office of the White House.
All right. Anyway, the point that I wanted to get out of this clip, I'm not going to go through the whole 12 minutes. I'll drop a link over in locals for those of you who are interested in it. But the point I was getting at was really that Kamala is someone who's so toxic to the Democratic ticket, and they're trying to play it as if now that they have Kamala, it's a win. It's a win. It's a win. In fact, she's going forward with the agenda that Mark Cuban claims nobody means equity. When they talk about equity, they don't really mean equity. They don't mean that they're going to take stuff from one person and give it to another person. That's not what they mean. That's what Mark Cuban will tell you. That's what Mark Cuban says. It's like nobody really believes that everyone should end up in the same place. That's not what people actually believe. Obviously, you have to earn and work and achieve. That's what, it's like, that's what it means. Well, that's not what Kamala means.
It has to be.
Here is classic socialist talk from Kamala Harris.
It has to be about a goal of saying everybody should end up in the same place. And since we didn't start in the same place, some folks might need more. Equitable distribution.
Giving resources based on equity, understanding that we fight for equality, but we also need to fight for equity, understanding not everyone starts out at the same place.
So there's a big difference between equality and equity. Equality.
See, whenever she's explaining something, it sounds like she's talking down to me as if we don't understand these basic terms. It's like, so cheese comes from milk. You see, and people they do a process with milk where milk becomes cheese. So when you have cheese, it's called a milk product because it comes from milk. They take the milk and they process the milk, and that's where we get cheese from. So that's why people call milk a dairy product, because milk, they call cheese a dairy product because it comes from milk, and milk is dairy. So that's where it all comes from. So you have to understand this.
Suggest often everybody should get the same thing. Well, that often assumes everybody started out in the same place, as opposed to equity, which is everyone should end up in the same place.
Should everyone end up as vice president? Should everyone end up as vice president? Is that what we should do? Have rotating vice presidents?
Then understand not everybody started out in the same place. You understand some people need more. So we all end up in the same place, right?
We are proud of the fact that equity is one of our guiding principles. Proud of the fact that we understand equality is important, but not everybody starts out on the same base. We see that people in our country are having an experience that is not equal. So when we talk about the work we are doing here together, it is recognizing that and being guided by this principle of what we must do in the spirit and in the interest of equity.
To put equity firmly
at the center of our economic policy. But no, if you look at the reality of who will benefit from certain policies, when you take into account that they're not starting at the same place and they're not starting on equal footing, it will directly benefit Black children, Black families, Black homeowners.
There you go. That's your socialist wannabe president. Now, her newest advertisement is probably her most powerful one. Because finally she starts talking to us like a normal person. So this is her newest advertisement. Just give equal footing to everyone. So I'll share with you her newest advertisement just so we're all on the same page here. And, you know, Kamala for president. There you go. Because I like being about equity and equality. And she's certainly not she's starting much lower in my book than most other people. She is. So in the interest of equity, here is the newest Kamala Harris advertisement.
I, Kamala Harris, am your Democrat candidate for president because Joe Biden finally exposed his senility at the debate. Thanks, Joe. I was selected because I am the ultimate diversity hire. I'm both a woman and a person of color. So if you criticize anything I say, you're both sexist and racist. I may not know the first thing about running the country, but remember, that's a good thing if you're a deep state puppet. I had 4 years under the tutelage of the ultimate deep state puppet, a wonderful mentor, Joe Biden. Joe taught me rule number 1, carefully hide your total incompetence. I take insignificant things and I discuss them as if they're significant. And I believe that exploring the significance of the insignificant is in itself significant. Talking about the significance of the passage.
That was a great line. The significance of the insignificant is talking about the significance of the insignificant is in itself significant.
Carefully hide your total incompetence. I take insignificant things and I discuss them as if they're significant. And I believe that exploring the significance of the insignificant is in itself significant. Talking about the significance of the passage of time, right? The significance of the passage of time. So when you think about it, there is great significance to the passage of time, and there is such great significance to the passage of time. Another trick is trying to sound Black. I pretend to celebrate Kwanzaa, and in my speeches, I always do my best Barack Obama impression. So hear me when I say, I know Donald Trump's type. And okay, look, maybe my work addressing the root causes of the border crisis were catastrophic, but my knowledge of international politics is truly shocking. The United States shares a very important relationship, which is an alliance with the Republic of North Korea. It is an alliance that is strong and enduring. And just remember, when voting this November, it is important to see what can be unburdened by what has been. And by what has been, I mean, Joe Biden. You think the country went to over the past 4 years? You ain't seen nothing yet.
That was really well done. Really easily the best. That's the best. That's the best of what I've seen so far. I'm not going to kid you. That was pretty solid right there. Pretty solid. It actually caught Elon Musk's eye. He shared that out. And so far, that's got how many views from Elon? Ah, nice. You've probably seen it. 127 million views. Ah! 127 million views. Oh my God. Oh my God. 127 million views. Wow. That's really good. That's really, really good. Wow. Elon is powerful. I just stumbled on this, which I thought was pretty funny. This guy's saying never deleting this app. Kamala Harris saying nobody should have to go to jail for smoking weed. So if you're unfamiliar with the way X works, you can add a community note. And the community note, which is sort of like correcting like what you said, on this one is, as District Attorney Kamala Harris oversaw 1,900 convictions of marijuana offenses, some of which resulted in jail time. There you go. There you go. That's the wannabe president. Now, a lot of people are concerned. I should catch up on some super chats here. I think I fell a little bit behind here. Got your job, prepare the punch. All right. Americans are taught having children is a harm to the planet. Too pricey, and abortion is basically a drive-through availability, while DNC encourages foreigners to have anchor babies ASAP. Hypocrisy. It is. It's a great call. I see the infamous Biden walk-off. Kamala's always struck me as an HR director who really enjoys her job. Yeah. That's a good call. Legs so wide open. Not popping out kids, that's for sure. Not surprised to see behind closed door. No one should be surprised by that. I'm in Australia. How the F is voting not compulsory in the U.S.? If you really want democracy, you need to make voting compulsory. This is a great question you're asking. This is a great question. Although, frankly, if I had my druthers, honestly, and this is an interesting, I'm not going to get into it tonight because I'm already past the 2-hour mark, and I don't want to start a new topic on this tonight. I will ask you this. I will ask you to consider this, John. If somebody understands next to nothing about the issues or the persons involved or what their positions are on anything, is it a democracy that their vote counts the same as someone who actually understands the issue, has been following? And I'm not saying that they should. I'm simply saying, as far as like having a healthy outcome of someone who's going to be a good leader for the country. And I have had this conversation in the past about the notion of, I'm trying to remember the name of the individual who said it, that a democracy's failing will ultimately be when it realizes its own undoing ultimately. This is not the exact words, so don't take what I'm about to say and clip it and try and find these words, because if anything, you'll find this. But the ultimate undoing of a democracy is when they recognize that they can vote themselves from the largesse of the public. Meaning, if you had, let's assume that today there was a 60% majority white people, okay? White Christians, let's pretend, which is not the reality anymore. Let's pretend that there was a reality whereby, which this was a reality at one point, it's no longer the case anymore, but where there was a reality here in this country, which there was 60% white Christians. And we didn't have our Bill of Rights and the 14th Amendment and equal protection clauses. Over time, what we would see is invariably people tend to vote in their own interests. And they invariably would be voting and saying, like, so now you would see the rise of politicians who would say, okay, I'm going to tax people who are not white Christians at a higher rate, an extra 5% I'll tack onto them because they're not white Christians. And it's a very easy thing to do if you don't have the Bill of Rights that we have, which obviously that's expressly violative of the First Amendment and the 14th Amendment, and probably a handful I'm not even thinking of off the top of my head. But if you don't have those protections built in there and you have a pure democracy, the majority is going to swallow up the minority. They're going to take everything they can from the minority. And a pure democracy ultimately is two foxes and a chicken deciding what to eat for dinner. Well, let's have a vote. All in favor of eating chicken. 2 hands are going to go up. That's essentially what a democracy is. So now we stopped ourselves to a degree from doing that. To a degree, we stopped ourselves from doing that. And the way we stopped ourselves from doing that is by creating a Bill of Rights and saying, okay, here are certain lines that we're going to carve out here to ensure that the minorities are not going to get swallowed up by the majority. So equal protection in the 14th Amendment, all of these things basically help lay out to stop, they're designed to act as a stopgap to prevent the majority from eating up the minority. But those are stopgap measures. They are fallible. They're highly fallible because there are a lot of areas that don't have protection. We probably should not have protection. We can argue about that, here and there. At a different time as whether this group should have protection or that group should have protection. But if you're protecting every group, ultimately no one's got protection, some would say. But if you say that people who vote a certain way consistently, in theory, this would never pass either. This probably would be problems also. But there are ways to sort of carve out and say, oh, okay, fine. You know what? The majority is people who are making less than $1 billion. So in theory, you almost have to ask yourself, how do we stop ourselves from basically saying that anyone who has more than $1 billion, that money is going to come into the public treasury? Why would that not happen? I'm flying a little bit afield from where your question was. My point was, when you talk about really wanting democracy, I'll tell you this. Most Americans don't think along the lines of we really want democracy. That is a leftist invention, the concept of interpreting America as a democracy. So in American mindset, we're not all about democracy. The left will constantly say, you're ruining democracy, you're ruining democracy, you're ruining democracy. Someone who's coming from the right, someone who's who believes in the heritage that America has, our founding fathers expressly rejected democracy out of concern for exactly what I was just laying out. That in a true democracy, it's two foxes and a chicken deciding what to eat for dinner, and invariably the majority will swallow up the minority and destroy them. And that's why we saw these failings of democracy in Greece and in Rome. A democracy is the easiest thing in the world. A pure democracy is the easiest concept in the world to divine. Little kids will, they'll vote on anything and just, okay, whichever side gets the most votes, that's the game we're going to play. That's the field we're going to play on. It's always invariably democracy is such a simple concept that a 5-year-old understands it. They might not always like the results, but they understand the concept. Yet, founding fathers eschewed the notion of embracing a pure democracy because they recognize its utter failing in a long-term scenario. Not in the short term. You can have a straight democracy if you have a country you're planning on operating for 50 years, 20 years, 50 years. But if you're planning on having it for centuries, invariably they're going to be swallowed up. And that is why America basically anchored itself to a constitutional republic, which is it's not purely about what the majority of people want. That's why we have two different houses of Congress between a house and a state. Historically, America was founded under a notion that each state individually was sovereign, its own area. The lines have become so blurred over the last century and a half because of mass communication, mass transportation, and just the ease with which we're able to zip around the world and across state lines. It used to be, you go back to where we were at our founding, none of these communications or transportations were readily available. The steam engine was coming around, but it was a big deal. It was a big deal. I think the steam engine was like 50 years later. It was more during Lincoln's time that actually look up on the steam engine. But the point is, if you're going to travel 3 states, that was like a 5-day trip, which today is like an hour and a half in the car. So the sovereignty of your state, and you didn't identify as an American so much as you identified as a New Yorker or as a Georgian or North Carolinian. Like this was your, if you were a Virginian, you were very proud of the fact that you were a Virginian. And while we recognize that we want to work together between these different states, at the same time, we didn't want to lose that sovereignty. Over time, that line of sovereignty became more and more blurry, and especially in the 1940s when the Supreme Court started giving the federal government power to intercede into state interests. That became the state, the sovereignty of the state eroded away into nothingness, where it's very, very hard to distinguish between someone from New York or from California or Arkansas, other than their cultural attitudes about certain things will tend to variate based on their upbringing and their locale. But by and large, in most respects, and if you look to the Supreme Court and FDR and what he did in the 1940s when he was trying to get the New Deal passed, because initially when things were set up with this country, it was, here are the areas that the federal government has domain, and that's it. Everything else goes to the state. Start with this. The default is each state is its own separate little country. And here are the areas that the federal government has a right to supersede that and step in over the line and start interjecting itself into state business. Over time, that power broadened and broadened and broadened and broadened and broadened, got stronger and stronger until now state rights seem like a joke in comparison to federal rights. But the initial notion was we want to be broken down into different subsets, because there, when you're having like a little democracy there, it's people vote who have like similar type of culture and attitude and mindset, because there's a difference in the culture and mindset of someone from Georgia versus someone from Virginia versus someone from Massachusetts. And it's very hard to have some sort of overarching governance that is properly reflecting the values of people from these different states, especially as we start expanding further westward. It's like it's like, what the hell is an Arizonan like someone from Massachusetts? There's very little shared culture. All we have in common is English and constitutional rights and some cultural elements, but a lot of the culture that you have is very, very diverse. And a lot of what you value and think is a healthy way to raise your family and a healthy way to live is going to be very, very different. So why are you living under my laws and why am I living under your laws? It's much healthier if you have pockets. So when we talk about democracy, so to an American, I get very bothered by the notion that it's like, wait, so people in California are going to they know what's right for me and my family? What do they know from that? Why? Because they have some sort, because so now they're going to decide who's going to be making laws that are dictating to me. I mean, okay, I understand people in my area. That makes sense. So we're very against the idea of having of fixating on the democracy element. And much more historically and through our heritage and our perspectives, we are much more about strengthening our local cultural perspectives. And it's ironic, for me to be professing this when I'm coming from New York, which is known as a melting pot, and has so many different cultures. And my own particular culture that I was raised in is very diverse from people who live even 3 miles away from me. And I recognize that, but I'm talking about your typical American. That their values are far more likely to be aligned with their kin in their town, in their city, than they are with someone who's 500 miles away, 1,000 miles away, 2,000 miles away. So, yeah, as far as so we're not really gung-ho about the whole democracy thing. While the left is always screaming, they're ruining democracy. We're like, we've never been in democracy. Thank God. That's basically the attitude of most people on the right. How does James O'Keefe get? I don't know. Isn't that amazing? Before I get out of here, I need to tell you why it is I don't think Kamala everyone's very scared of Kamala because her polling numbers, her early polling numbers came in and they were disappointing for Trump people. And I'm going to focus on a little clip here from Viva Fry from earlier tonight. And why it is, I would tell you that if you're a Trump supporter, relax. I don't mean relax like don't stop pushing hard. No, we need to keep pushing hard. Definitely, 100% have to keep pushing hard. But don't get heart palpitations. I'm trying. I'm doing what I can. YouTube started flagging AI content. Disclose. Oh, really? Oh, so you're saying I wouldn't have a problem because of what I shared there? Joe, if you have time to check out her agenda on her website, LOL, there's nothing there. Maybe I'll do it tomorrow. Thank you for pointing that out to me. You ain't wrong. Of course, it's democracy. Don't you remember when we had a vote of the majority? The U.S. decided to send $175 billion to Ukraine? Don't get me started. Don't get me started. So I just want to share with you this little clip here where Viva seems very concerned on Viva Barnes. He seems very concerned about Kamala, and I'm going to tell you why. I'm really not that concerned. I know you can't hear it.
To the African, Jamaican, Indian daughter of slave owners grew up in Canada, weird, cackling Kamala laughter, that they'll relate to her because she checks the box in the meme video that's going around that even Elon Musk retweeted. Vote for me because I'm a woman. Vote for me because I'm black. Vote for me because I'm biracial. Vote for me because I'm the daughter of immigrants. Vote for me because of my identity. They think that's what's going to fly in urban, working class, rural, suburban, Midwest America. That's what's going to fly with Mexican American voters and working class voters in Nevada and Arizona. They're completely delusional. She's going to get crushed. It is not going to get close. They're not going to get anywhere near the margin of fraud.
The problem is I was listening to Ben Carson on Tucker Carlson as I'm jogging, and the problem is, like, I came to this sort of revelation yesterday. People are idiots, and they're not voting for a person. They're not voting for policy. They're voting for a package. They're voting for a brand, and the media, their ability overnight, literally to pull a 1984. Kamala Harris is an idiot. Kamala Harris is the most liberal senator. Kamala Harris, they talked about her having slept her way to the top as well. Overnight, like, they got the new script in Orwell's 1984. She's now the new savior, and they're so effective at doing it. There's going to be people out there who don't know that she bailed people, that she was.
But the problem is who their voters are. And the reason why voters are not voting for Biden is because the economy stinks, because immigration is bad, because there's war abroad, because they don't like all the insanity of the wokeism being so extreme. That's why. She doesn't cure those problems. She makes them worse. She's more of a war whore. She's more of a wokeist. She's more of a pro-open borders. She's worse in favoring big tech and Wall Street over ordinary people in the real economy. In fact, Peter Thiel predicted this.
All true.
He said, watch, the Democratic Party will nominate somebody from California because they think that's their stellar example of what the whole country wants. And they're going to find out the whole country doesn't want California.
And to further Robert's point, this is why I agree with Robert. You want to know why I agree with Robert? So I'm going to remind those of you who might be too young to remember about this woman right here. I'm going to remind you about this black woman here. It happens to be an attractive black woman.
Do you care about Black lives? The people that run Baltimore don't. I can prove it. Walk with me. They don't want you to see this.
She checks all the boxes.
I'm Kim Klasick. This is Baltimore, the real Baltimore. This is the reality for Black people every single day. Crumbling infrastructure, abandoned homes, poverty, and crime. Baltimore has been run by the Democrat Party for 53 years. What is the result of their decades of leadership? Baltimore is one of the top 5 most dangerous cities in America.
This video went viral. in 2020. I remember this vividly. Kim Klacik. Everyone was like, oh my gosh, she was like the new hot thing. Everyone got very excited when they saw this video. Like, wow, this, pretty black woman is coming out here with Republican values and bashing Democrats. And this was going everywhere.
The murder rate in Baltimore is 10 times the U.S. average. The Baltimore poverty rate is over 20%. Homicide, drug, and alcohol deaths are skyrocketing in our city. Do you believe Black Lives Matter? I do. The vast majority of crime in Baltimore is perpetrated against Black people, who make up 60% of the population. So why don't we care about our communities? The Democrat Party have betrayed the Black people of Baltimore. If the politicians...
You know what her shortcoming was? What? Because I'll tell you this. Here were the results. Kimberly Klacik, 28%. Kwesi Mufemi, 71%. Hottest thing in the world. Hottest thing in the world 4 months before the election. 6 months before the election. Hottest thing. Hottest thing. Died in the elections. Died. Because at the end of the day, you can be an attractive black woman if you don't have answers, you don't have solutions, you're writing exclusively on your intersectionality. It's not gonna, there's not enough idiots out there. There are not enough idiots out there. So is there a certain percentage of people who will come out and say, oh wow, I have to support a woman, I have to support a black woman, whatever? Yeah, of course there are. Those people are a relatively small segment. So she has her bump that she got now. She has her bump that it's like, oh, okay, we're all excited, a brand new change from the disaster of the Biden debate, a brand new change from everyone talking about Trump being so heroic when he survived an assassination attempt. So she got her little bump, which was expected. That's okay. Elections are still 4 months away. She has nothing. She's revealed that she's word salad. You hear her talk, and you're like, you really have no answers, and you've been part of this problem. The biggest problem she has is that she's been part of the Biden administration, and everyone sees what an utter disaster that's been. So I look at Kim Klacik, and I say to myself, yeah, some Democrats come out and vote for Kamala Harris. Black woman, president, all that other stuff. That's nice. That's not nearly enough. That's not nearly enough. It's really not. So don't freak, relax. Everything's gonna be fine. It's gonna be fine. And with that, let me go around, make sure I got all my comments, make sure I got all my rants, check out the get out, make sure I didn't miss anything. I'll peek in on locals even. Just do that also. Do my locals check going on here. The kindergarten teacher. Nice. Well done, John McCarthy. All right. I think I'm good there. I'm good here. Yeah, but you need to have something beyond that, especially because people are going to be looking at their wallets. What you really need is we need the economy not to surge basically over the next 4 months, because that changes everything. Sent him 1 minute clip about X about democracy. Oh, okay, cool. All right. Oh, I covered that. Okay. I'm going to land my plane over here. We're 2.5 hours in. It's time for me to go grab a drink, grab some food, chill, relax, and I will see you all tomorrow. Tomorrow is a brand new day. I look forward to catching you all then. While I'm here, you might have noticed I haven't really been bringing my guy out here recently, but I should because I noticed I lost like 100 folks to my subs. So if you're here and you're still here at 3 o'clock and 2:43 in the morning Eastern time, You could just wander on over to that little subscribe button. That'd be really awesome of you. Also, I'm on locals at goodlogic.locals.com. That's goodlogic.locals.com. Before I get out of here, I do need to remind those of you who are relatively new, especially, but even some of the OGs, some of you might forget, no matter what they tell you, how they sell it to you. I don't care if it comes on a big fancy plate and a nice hot piping bun. Say no to lab meat. Don't do it. Do not eat the bugs. Have a good night, my friends. And as always, Godspeed.